Hi, everybody. This is John Mulligan with Action Coach, and today I'm here with Jessica Adanich of Design Pod Studios and Design Pod Tactical, and we're going to talk a little bit about her business. So, welcome, Jessica.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. So, tell me a little bit about your business and how long have you been there doing this?
Yes, so Design Pod Studio is a design agency that focuses on graphic design, branding, and marketing strategies. And basically, marketing strategies is a fancy phrase for saying helping people make a plan because it's
Mhm.
always good to have a plan before you execute anything. And Design Pod is a little over 7 years old.
Wow, that's fabulous.
Thanks.
Do you have any employees?
I do have a pool of contractors. So Design Pod, the name lends to kind of like a pod of whales.
Hmm.
So we're a pod of creatives. So I have hand selected designers that are US based that I'll pull in based on the project or the expertise, overflow, things like that.
Okay. And then, why did you want to get in this business in the first place?
I've done design ever since I can remember. I did a vocational in high school where when I was 14 started learning Adobe, the Adobe suite, so Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator.
Hmm.
And ever since I was little, I always loved art and creativity, so it just kind of lended to being a career path. In
Okay.
college, I started off in industrial design, which is product and automotive, but
Hmm.
uh, ended up switching majors to sculpture. So my degree is actually in sculpture,
Okay.
but fell back on graphic design for an internship and just kind of took off from there.
Excellent. So, just curious, after that internship, did you end up working for them?
I did for a year,
Okay.
but they had different plans that they wanted. They didn't have as much graphic design work that they really wanted to give to me, and they had a warehouse and they wanted me to sign a non-compete and
Hmm.
all of that, and it just wasn't a good fit, so I decided to go off on my own and find a different job. And at that time the economy had just crashed, so
Oh.
I worked for a sewing machine company selling sewing machines, worked for a commercial real estate company doing graphic design, worked for Vitamix doing soft good engineering for Nerf, Hasbro for a bit,
Wow.
bounced around.
Yeah, it's funny. Certain skill sets are very transferable between companies.
Yeah, they really are. But I was very fortunate because at that time, probably around 2012, 2013, Mace, the pepper spray company, was moving from Bennington, Vermont to Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
They were building a new headquarters.
Hmm.
And through the connections I had, the real estate broker that I did a lot of design work for was actually handling the building that Mace was moving into. And he said, "Hey, they're
Oh,
going to be
wow.
looking for a new head of marketing. You should apply." And I did. So they hired me at 25 to run their marketing and design department, which is
Sweet.
wild.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Thank you.
Not a building I would want to break into, in fact, but yeah.
No, no, I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that and the Tabasco down in Louisiana. Also, yeah.
Yeah, probably sucks to do inventory at both places. I remember anytime that we had to do inventory at Mace, it was like wash your hands after you touch anything before you go
Yeah,
to the bathroom.
I can absolutely understand that. Um, so what got you into wanting to start your own company?
I had always from college had always thought that maybe one day I would be a business owner,
Mhm.
but you fall into the I want to say the safety net or the security of having a corporate job,
Yeah.
a salary and benefits and 401k. But truth and transparency, at that time, Mace was going through a lot of internal stressful disruptions. We had new board members, new investors, and they had
Mhm.
their own vision for the future. And my plans were to work up the ladder and one day be CEO. And it was very clear that that was not going to be the case.
Yeah.
And I thought, might as well jump out of the plane and see if my parachute opens, that it was better to be driving the car than yelling directions from the back seat. And
Mhm.
worst case scenario, if it didn't work out, I could apply for another job, but I wanted to give it a shot. I didn't want to get to my deathbed and think about all the things I could have, should have, would have done. And
Right.
so here we are.
Yeah, I
Hasn't
think
been
that's a very
easy,
good.
but
Yeah, and that's a great lesson for a lot of people. I think there's a lot of people who, what you always hear people deathbed confessions, and there's so many people who basically are like, yeah, wish I'd have done this, that, or the other, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I, for better or for worse, have made a lot of big major decisions in my life based on that, on my
Hmm.
gut, my faith, and what I don't want to regret. And
Hmm.
I feel like resigning from Mace was a very sporadic. I When I decide something, I know it's gonna happen. And like people that are very close to me know that once it's decided, I might be thinking about it, but it's really already gonna happen. I've already
Yeah.
decided it in my brain. And I had gotten scuba certified while I was at Mace, and that was kind of like the beginning. I don't want to say the beginning of the end. It was the end of the beginning, however you want to say it, where it
Mhm.
just kind of was like, all right, I'm gonna burn up my life and rebuild it.
Yeah. There you go. So
Yeah.
what have been some of the struggles that you've had since you started the business?
I will say from the get-go, it was that I know how to do my craft and I knew how to do design and do it well, but I had no idea how to run a business. I
Hmm.
had effectively resigned from Mace in a weekend with no business plan, no understanding on how to do sales. I knew how to explain what I envisioned for my company, but didn't know how to truly articulate it to someone else. So it's been a learning curve for a lot of that. Also
Hmm.
having more confidence in myself. Obviously I knew I could do it, but really truly having confidence in yourself, I think comes with experience and age. And I
Sure.
was, you know, third early 30s when I did that.
Yeah.
And um eh, yeah, so it's been a lot of learning because they don't teach you in college how to actually do real world stuff. You
Nope.
know, it's it's none of that. And especially going to art school, no,
Right.
that good luck.
Well, it's funny because I've had discussions with doctors and lawyers who have run practices, attorneys practice and all. Same thing for them. They're like, we learn how to do our trade, but nobody tells us in law school how to run a law practice, right? Um,
Yeah.
and even I have an MBA, and I will tell you that an MBA is great if you want to work in corporate finance or for big companies, but an MBA doesn't tell you how to run a small business either, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I completely believe it. And a lot of my job, believe it or not, is really reading people because
Hmm.
what I do is it's not 2 + 2 is 4. Design is feelings. Well, this makes me feel a certain way, or I
Right.
feel that. And being a detective when somebody says something and translating that to a visual output, not to mention the amount of times that I work with teams and it's like marriage counseling. I'll
Yeah.
be in a room with two people that very much have different opinions and
Yes.
I'm mediating them.
Hmm.
So it's being able to read people in a way that, when who would have ever thought that graphic design is really that, but luckily innately I have that people person ability
Right.
to be a chameleon and
Yeah.
transform, if that makes sense.
Well, and it's interesting. I mean, it's very much parallels. I think when I start coaching a client, if they're married, I say, we're bringing your spouse to this alignment process because you may say, I want to do this, that, and the other, and I want to take these kinds of vacations and I want to do that. But I said, I'd love to hear what your spouse has to say because even if they say, oh, my spouse is not involved in the business, yes, they are. Like they're
Yes.
involved in the business every time you go home and you're going home late or you're missing your kid's soccer practice. So, oh, they're involved, all right. No.
Oh, yes. Yes,
Yeah.
it is. When you are an entrepreneur, it is a 24/7 job.
Yeah.
There is, even if you're able to step away from your business for a period of time, you're never truly away from it.
Absolutely. So who are your ideal clients?
My ideal client, I tell people that it's really about the mindset of the business owner. Obviously, I have the tactical division from the years that I was at Mace. I do specialize in that, but
Yeah, if you could
the
also when you answer, elaborate on the two part when you get a chance to.
yeah, yeah. So, I guess maybe first I'll go over that. When I first branded the company, it was Design Pod Studio, and word had spread within the tactical self-defense industry that I had resigned. And because of my expertise and graphic aesthetics, a lot of people reached out to me for help. They were intrigued and interested in working with me, which is an
Mhm.
amazing compliment. But when I started going to tactical specific shows to show up with like a, me and a bright blue whale card saying,
Sure.
hey, I specialize, there was a disconnect. So it made sense to create a division that when I do marketing or advertising, that right off the bat, it clearly speaks to that arena. And it makes sense. So it's the same company, but it's just basically telling people, no, I know what I'm talking about, because it's not
Sure.
like selling teddy bears. It really is a
Yeah.
different world. But despite it being a different world, really the clients and the perfect referral for me is that mindset of the business owner that they understand the value of professional design and the investment in marketing. It's not a cost, it's an
Hmm.
investment,
Right.
and they're ready to do that. The analogy I use is, you could, if you want to get in shape, you can walk outside for free. You could then level up and get new shoes, a workout outfit, a fitness watch,
Yep.
a gym membership. But the high end would be getting a personal fitness coach. And that's where we come in. We're a boutique agency, and it really is that one-to-one experience, but it takes someone understanding that investment and wanting that.
Hmm.
Not everybody has that. So whether our clients are chiropractors or personal injury attorneys, or they sell firearm accessories, they understand that investment and they want to work with someone personally on that.
Okay. And on that note, is there any niche or any type of business that you would not want to work with?
Oof. You know, no, it comes back to the mindset of
Okay.
the business owner. I think those that are micromanagers or
Hmm.
think that they know best, those are very hard to work with, because
Yeah.
when someone asks for help, but yet really deep down doesn't want help, you're constantly going to be 3 steps forward, 2 steps back.
Right.
And there's no way to make that work. And I'm not in the business of spending someone's money if it's not going to help either of us. And
Sure.
like I tell people, what I do is fun. I love what I do. I'm very passionate about it. Like
Hmm.
I am always thinking about design. I live, breathe, eat it, sleep it. So to work with a client where it's not great for both of us, it's like
Yeah.
business dating. If we're not gonna have fun doing this, we don't, I'll find someone else for you. Like really, it's fine.
Right. Have
um
you
the,
ever fired a client?
yes, I
Okay.
have. But it has been in a way where, hey, maybe my aesthetic isn't a great match. Let me find someone that has a better style that's
Yeah.
more in line of what you're thinking for.
Right.
Because as you know, it's a big, small world. I'm not about burning bridges, and you
Nope.
never know who can come back up and resurface.
Right.
I think that, in my time of doing business, the 7 years of running Design Pod, there was only one true relationship that went sour. And even then, it was me walking away because they were not running their business properly. And I felt that it was the drama was getting too much. And at that point, even if I was going to take a financial hit,
Hmm.
it was better for me to walk away than stay in that position.
Okay. So if there's one thing in your business that you would change right now, what would it be?
Oh, that's
Or one
really,
or one thing that you go, oh, I really wish, you're like, it's on your to-do list, but it just hasn't made it there yet.
I I would say, I'd really love to be able to delegate more projects to my team,
Hmm.
but because of what I have going on and the growth, I need that, financial income to come in to put into other things.
Yeah.
As you know, John, I've started a nonprofit, so that's now
Yeah. We're
the
going to talk
third.
about that in a minute. Yep.
Yeah, so that's the third company that I will have started. And so if I just focused on the one, then that would be one thing. But I think a lot of us as business owners or entrepreneurs, founders, we have this sick addiction of starting things.
Hmm. Are you a starting too many things and not finishing them, or do you finish these things?
Oh no, I finish.
Okay,
And
good, good.
it's really about connections and timing.
Right.
And it's a stove, I or shell game, I move things around on the
Mhm.
stove top.
Yep.
And because of networking and connections, there's just timelines, and sometimes timelines run together, and it's, feast or famine, or when it
Right.
rains it pours types of situation.
Yeah. So you mentioned your other nonprofit. Tell us about that.
Yes. So the other company I have is called Fuzzy Sharks, and that's a purpose-driven organization. In other words, it's a for-profit company, but I design and create products to raise awareness and educate on shark conservation. And so that's actually tucked under Design Pod LLC, but it is a different company, forward facing. But I really want that to continue to always be my baby. But a part of that was creating a yearly event where I bring art and conservation together. And this May will be the fifth one that I will be doing. And it made sense to make it a nonprofit
Mhm.
finally, which was not the plan. You make plans and God laughs. My plan was to make it a nonprofit further down the road, because there's a lot of things that come with it, but really, to be doing the mission and the true foundation of what Sharkapalooza stands for and everything that we are putting together, it made sense to make it a nonprofit sooner than later.
Okay.
Uh, because to me, I feel like I know art can be a vehicle to inspire, educate, raise awareness. We see art throughout culture and society, politics doing that. So why not conservation?
Yep.
And to have a festival where it really brings together art vendors and the aquariums and nonprofits, I think that's a really awesome, cool thing. And I've seen it in action before. And now we're taking it to a really, really big level, a full city festival, which is insane. I've been told literally, Jess, you know, you're crazy for doing this, right? And I'm like, yes, I know that.
Well, and I don't think we mentioned it, but we live in the Tampa Bay area. So tell
Yeah.
us a little about, and we're recording this in February of 2026. So tell us a little bit about this year's Sharkapalooza, where it's located and when it is.
Yes. So this year, it is going to be in Coachman Park, Clearwater, which, if you're familiar with that area, it's a beautiful park in downtown Clearwater. And it's, if you don't know it, it's this like big circle grass area with a sidewalk around it, trees and sitting spots. There's like a jungle gym for kids. It's right on the marina on the water.
Mhm.
The city of Clearwater did an amazing job building it. So we are taking over all of Coachman Park, and it's going to be May 16th, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Mhm.
A juried vendor art show along with shark, ocean, conservation nonprofits will be there. Aquariums, Clearwater Aquarium, Florida Aquarium. We're going to have a full stage with local music acts, food trucks, beer, wine. So it really is the best of like an art festival along with conservation.
Nice. So you mentioned that you had a dive certification. So which came first in the chicken and the egg thing? Was it your interest in sharks or your dive certification?
The interest in sharks ever
Okay.
since I was little. This the story goes, or as my parents told me, when I was very, very little, I spent the day in my bedroom like crafting. And I came out at the end of the day with this Tupperware container and construction paper. And I said, look at my fish tank. And they said they felt so bad because it was so pathetic that they went out and bought a fish tank. And they had never had fish in their lives. And
Uh-huh.
we called it the tank of death because they got a small tank, and the smaller the tank, the smaller the ecosystem. It's harder to take care of. So everything
Yeah.
died.
Oh,
They
geez.
got they got bigger tanks, and then they put a pond in the backyard. So ever since I was little, they really cultivated my love for aquatics, and I refound that love in college. And sharks are just something that they're incredibly amazing, and they're like the bees of the ocean. They're
Mhm.
incredibly misunderstood, and they're like living dinosaurs. They've been around for 400 million years, and
Yes.
for whatever reason, in a past life, maybe I lived in Atlantis. I don't know. But I
Well,
love them.
right. Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to discuss before we wrap up today?
Not that I can think of. I really appreciate you having me on.
Well, thank you so much. It's been great. Again, we've been here with Jessica Adanich, Design Pod Studio, Tampa Bay area, and Design Pod Tactical, and Fuzzy Sharks. And
Yes.
don't forget about Sharkapalooza, which, by the way, she does mention Coachman Park's a beautiful place. Highly recommend that you go down there for the festival. So, all right. Thanks so much, Jessica. We appreciate it.
Thanks.